Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. I hope all is well, and we're back talking some hoops. And it was very hard to come up with a video idea because, as you guys know, it's a very dry, it's a very stale time of the off season right now. We're just waiting to see what happens with Kevin Durant. We're waiting to see what happens with Donovan Mitchell. And at the end of the day, Donovan Mitchell may not be traded during this off season. He hasn't officially requested a trade. There's still a few more years left on his contract, and the Jazz are trying to get back as much as possible. So we'll wait and see what happens with that situation. But anyway, the way I came up with this video idea, I was looking through all 30 NBA teams' rosters, and I'm like, what name is going to catch my eye? And then I'm like, that name right there, I think that's going to be a good video idea, as I'm going to be talking about someone who was the 11th overall pick in the 2021 NBA draft, a shooting guard standing at 6'4", 190 pounds with a 6'8" wingspan, coming out of UConn, and his name is James Bouknight. And I really liked James Bouknight during the 2021 NBA draft process, the whole pre-draft process and all that. And when you took a look at James Bouknight this previous year, when it came to being a rookie, he had a very, very rough rookie year. He definitely got off to a very bumpy start. He played the least amount of minutes when it came to that lottery class, only playing a total of 304 total minutes in the NBA. He spent most of the time in the G League. He suffered a neck injury, and he also went on to have a pinky injury last month. So hopefully that doesn't really hurt him in training camp and he's able to come back in time. But he's definitely been held back, but you could say he's kind of been holding himself back as well. Apparently he didn't have a great relationship with James Borrego. There's a video of him and James Borrego arguing, him trying to get into it with James Borrego, and LaMelo Ball had to hold him back. And then you see reports that he's stubborn, and I really hope he's not stubborn, and I really hope he fixes his attitude if he does have one, because when you're in the NBA, obviously I've never been in the NBA. I haven't played even college basketball. I'm just an NBA fan or a basketball fan. At the end of the day, you have to have your head on your shoulders, right? You have to have a good head on your shoulders. You can never be too high, you can never be too low, because this is the professionals. You put your head down, and you go to work. Nothing's going to be handed to you. You have to really earn your starting spot, or even earn rotational minutes, which he didn't have. So in order to be successful, you have to have the right mentality, and I really hope Bouknight does have that, because at the end of the day, he's not going to reach his ceiling if he doesn't live up, if he doesn't have the right head on his shoulders. And I thought it was the perfect time to make this video as well, because the whole Miles Bridges situation, hopefully Miles Bridges never plays another game in the NBA, if that is true. And if James Bouknight pops off, or even gets nice rotational minutes, it could definitely raise the ceiling of this Hornets team, because the whole Bridges situation definitely hurt the Charlotte Hornets team. And he also went into a situation, you have a guy of Terry Rozier, who has proven himself in the league, ahead of you on the depth chart. You have a guy of Cody Martin ahead of you on the depth chart. And when it comes to certain substitutions, when it comes to certain rotations, Kelly Oubre is ahead of you on the depth chart as well. Even though we know Kelly Oubre plays that 3 position, we know Gordon Hayward got hurt. So a lot of weird things happen with the Charlotte Hornets roster. And when you take a look at James Bouknight's game, the Hornets weren't like, we're not going to play you because you're trash. Bouknight has some of the best raw talent on this basketball team. It's just he needs to work on the fundamentals. He needs to work on the mental processing part of the game. It's just that they needed him to work on certain things before he entered the real NBA games, because they're still competing, they're still trying to win games. This wasn't a team trying to tank, and he's a very ISO heavy type of player. I actually came up with a stat here. I went through his entire game log, and I pulled out, technically I pulled out 8 games that he played around 20 minutes or more, because he only played 8 games last year that he played around 20 minutes or more out there on the basketball floor. Technically, he only had 6 games that he played 20 minutes or more in those games. And by the way, obviously they don't have James Borrego anymore. They're gonna bring in a Steve Clifford, or they brought in a Steve Clifford, who used to coach the Hornets, used to coach the Magic, and hopefully he gets off to he has a good first impression, or has a good impression on Steve Clifford, and he shows that he cares and wants to be impactful if it's in a rotational spot, and that he'll be like, I'll accept any role on this team. I just want to be effective. I want to be a winning basketball player. I care about winning, because Steve Clifford, he values the veterans. He values defense. He's a disciplined type of coach as well. So Bouknight, he's got to be ready. And some guys just mature later than others. Like, Bouknight's still a young player at the end of the day. I believe he played 2 years of college basketball at UConn. So when you take a look at those games that he played, again, around, because a couple of those games I threw in those 8 games, when I say he played around 20 minutes or more. 2 of those games he played 19 minutes, and there's something there when you watch Bouknight play. He clearly has talent. Yes, he has stuff to work on, but in those 8 games, he went on to average 13.5 points per game, averaged 4 rebounds, he averaged 1 assist, he averaged 1 steal. The efficiency is another story, obviously, we need to talk about. He only shot 39% from the field, but he did go on to shoot 47% from downtown. And for the total season, he got to the free throw line 1 time per game, not a lot. But again, there's not a huge sample size when it comes to Bouknight, but he shot 87% from the free throw line, which is a good indicator that there is a nice touch there. So when you watch Bouknight play, he has this herky-jerky style of play. He has nice hesitations. Like, I really like the way he plays the game of basketball when he has the ball in his hands. He's definitely an ISO-heavy player. So what he's best at is creating offense for himself. But I feel where he needs to take his game to the next level, where the Hornets are probably looking at like, yeah, he's going to have to fix this in order to get more time. Like, he recognizes that he's so great at getting to the basket. Yes, he needs to become more efficient finishing at the basket. Sometimes you could put up off balance, like one-hand shots, and he needs to do a better job utilizing his left hand. Maybe he goes right a little too much. We know he's very athletic, like he's an above the rim athlete, does a good job using hesitation moves, does a good job like setting people up with his cross. He has a nice crossover, he gets people to bite, and he's a lethal first step, and he can work down the lane and throw it down on you. But he has to realize that him getting to the basket doesn't just like help him. It doesn't just benefit him, it benefits his teammates. The defense is collapsing on you. Another man is rotating over. Someone's going to be open outside on the perimeter. When he catches a guy on his hip and he gets to mid-range territory, another guy coming over, someone's going to be open. He has to do a better job being aware of that. Only average 1 assist per game. Didn't do a great job with his reads. But maybe if Bouknight does impress in training camp and hopefully he has a good recovery from this injury and he's able to come back in time, or any rotational minutes he's out there with LaMelo, I do think he'll thrive better as a playmaker and transition. More rapid, quick decisions. You know, LaMelo Ball makes kind of everyone around him better. LaMelo's feel for the game, finding Bouknight with his athleticism and transition, finding Bouknight cutting back door, really telling him where to go outside on the perimeter to relocate. So he needs to get better, really, playmaking wise. That's where he needs to take his game to the next level. But he does have potential to be a 3-level scorer. Like I mentioned, the athleticism, I mentioned the soft touch, and this is with limited reps as well. Like I said, he only had 6 games technically that he played 20 minutes or more. And I like that he's able to use his setup cross, like fake he's about to go to the rack, step back 3. He needs to knock it down more efficient, but he has shown that he does have a step back 3 in his game. And 47% from 3. I'm sure a lot of you guys are wowed by that. Yes, it's only 8 games, but that shows you can shoot the damn basketball in meaningful minutes. The Sacramento Kings game, he shot 6 for 8 from downtown. He was on fire, especially off the ball. And I thought that was a very important game for the coaching staff and James Bouknight, that he showed that he could play without the basketball. So I thought that was huge. And if he could take his game to the next level and learn how to create, or he knows how to create with the ball or knock it down efficiently. Again, I think it's him being a little rusty of not playing against these live, like, yes, he played up against like NBA caliber competition, still professionals in the G League, but sometimes it's totally different personnel when it comes to real live NBA games. So he has shown that he can play without the ball, but sometimes you have to really take these numbers with a grain of salt of what he shot from 3, because he had some games it was like 1 of 2 from 3. Of course, that's just 50%. That's going to bump it up. The Sacramento Kings game, when he went on to shoot 6 for 8, like that's shot 75%, I believe that is. And yeah, so, and then there were some games he shot like 33%, but he had some of these games that it was like 1 for 1. You know what I mean? So maybe you would like to see more of a volume. But again, he shot 87% from the free throw line. Even though it's only on 1 attempt, we've seen guys that only on 1 attempt have shot like 50%. So kind of it is impressive that on such small sample size that he shot it well from the free throw line with less attempts to redeem himself, you know? So that just shows that he does put in the work. So he has a good handle. He can create. Needs to get better creating for others. He's actually an athletic freak of nature. He was getting comparisons to Zach LaVine coming out. Like, he's gonna have to play big. I like that he's a good athlete because he's only 6'4". He's 190. You could say maybe he has to get a little stronger. I do like that he's a 6'8" wingspan, because I think it can help him out on this side of the ball even more, because his defense needs work. It's like he tries. He's a good team defender. He does a good job rotating over. Like, he does a good job communicating with his teammates on that side of the ball. He's a pretty damn confident individual. So he does a good job rotating over, does a good job defending the passing lanes. He was able to come up with a steal in those limited minutes as well. But his screen navigation, it seems like certain personnel, he doesn't know when to go under, doesn't know when to go over, laterally, doesn't like he moves his feet well, but it's just like his footwork isn't the best. You know, just because you're athletic doesn't mean you're a fantastic defender. But again, I think that can go into playing more games. But yeah, Bouknight didn't get a ton of minutes his rookie year. But I really believe if Bouknight puts in the work, shows to Steve Clifford that he cares, he wants to be a great player, and he's able to fight or just compete for a starting spot and maybe ends up as a bench player, I think that could be huge for the Hornets because at the end of the day, the Hornets took this dude 11th overall. They need him to work out. They took a lot of time looking into your film, interviewing you. Are you the right player for us? You have talent, but I really hope he's not stubborn because they could just raise the ceiling for this Hornets team. Because you'll see Bouknight get better every game, then he'll get better the next season when it comes to his basketball IQ, everything, and then alongside LaMelo, you drafted Mark Williams out of Duke. Like that could be something really nice there, you know, the defense complementing the offense of LaMelo Ball and Bouknight. But he has definitely shown the ability to be a difficult shot maker, working down the lane, pulling up from mid-range territory. Like he's hit some difficult shots and from the outside, but it comes down to making the right play. And you could say on the defense side of the basketball, you could kind of defend him a little bit because the Hornets as a whole weren't a great defensive team, and maybe they weren't putting up the right defensive scheme. But Steve Clifford is going to make sure he plays defense. Let me know down below your thoughts. Peace out, y'all.